of KBLA editorials, and suddenly everyone has found their hard hats. It's amazing what happens when the community starts asking questions out loud, and this is why Black media matters. We don't need more empty promises. We need a finished project. Political accountability to Black fellow citizens means that elected officials and institutions must answer for their actions or inaction in ways that are real, measurable, and consequential when they fail to follow through. I suppose the good news here is that LA City Council President and 8th District Representative Marqueece Harris Dawson is now officially on the record. But to be clear, he's also on the clock. Remember now, it is anticipated that construction activities will begin within the next weeks. We shall see. We have exercised our right to free speech, but there are other rights the Black business community can exercise as well. This is a classic example of a public nuisance claim if ever there was one. Again, we shall see. What I can tell you is that Black business owners and Crenshaw community residents have been calling, emailing, and literally showing up in our lobby demanding more and asking how they can sign on to this effort. Put simply, after years of delay, the people have had enough. My big mama put it this way: once a task you have first begun, never finish until it is done. Be the labor great or small, do it well or not at all. And finally, while the citizens in Crenshaw appealed to Mr. Harris Dawson to fulfill the city's obligations to us, the LA City Council debates whether non-citizens can vote in local elections, I declare, here again, that's not leadership, that's misplaced priorities. Now, I need to put on my hard hat, go outside, and wait for these procrastination Crenshaw construction crews to show up. I'll let you know if and when they do. Trust and believe. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. As always, we welcome your feedback.
Junior Show. The Jesse Jackson Junior Show. The Jesse Jackson Junior Show. The Jesse Jackson Junior Show. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA.
Junior, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Junior Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Tenacious Tuesday, the Jesse Jackson Show. And we're lighting it up with Liz King and our very special guest, Barrett Holmes Bittner. Liz King recently served as the Education Equity Senior Program Director for the Leadership Conference on Civil and Human Rights, a position she held from 2015 until 2025. In this role, Ms. King led the organization's work to ensure that all students are fully included in welcoming schools from early childhood through post-secondary education that prepare them for college, careers, life, and the full exercise of their social, political, and economic rights. Liz is our regular contributor on Lighting It Up with Liz, and also joining us is Barrett Holmes Bittner, philosopher, author, educator, journalist, and founder of the Sustainable Culture Lab. In 2021, he published the celebrated book, The Crime Without a Name, Ethnocide and the Erasure of Culture in America, which NPR named one of the top books of the year. In it, he describes how ethnocide, the destruction of a people's culture, while keeping the people, has shaped American life since the transatlantic slave trade. Liz, Barrett, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you, Congressman. Always glad to be here.
Yeah,
Liz,
thanks for having me.
Barrett, I'm so glad you're back. Listen, we have about 3 minutes, Liz, before we come forward. We've got an hour. I want to carefully walk our way through this, through these series of Supreme Court decisions that end with the term today. And I don't think we need to delay any further. Without further ado, Liz, your thoughts.
Yeah, Congressman. So as many of your listeners may know, the end of June is usually a very busy time in the court. Often the court will save its most consequential decisions until the end of the term. Their goal is to finish up before July, and so they have done that. They have issued several Supreme Court decisions that we're going to talk about today, obviously in the context of the Calais decision, which came earlier this month. Deeply consequential decision that created new barriers to electing, to Black political enfranchisement. And so we're going to talk about these cases in that context. We saw today a really important decision that Mr. Bittner knows a lot about, and we'll speak to. It's called Trump v. Barbara. It's about the meaning of the 14th Amendment and birthright citizenship and what that means today. I think we have to think about that case, though, in the context of a reputational rehabilitation by John Roberts, who throughout the course of this term has been seeking to undermine our democracy, to undermine Black political self-determination, to undermine the progress of the nation, and today finally did the reasonable and appropriate thing, the only reasonable interpretation of the 14th Amendment. But we'll also talk about a decision that came out that is going to allow for more money in politics, that's going to allow for more political power for the wealthiest among us, and a moment where our country now has a trillionaire. And so we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about a terrible decision that came out today about the right of transgender athletes to participate in school-based athletics alongside their peers. And then also I want to talk about a decision from a few days ago called Mullen v. Doe that ends temporary protective status for Haitian immigrants who've been living in the U.S. Some Haitian families have been living here for a very long time. So a lot of decisions to talk about, a lot of consequences for people's daily lives, and a lot of consequences for the future of our democracy and what it means to be an American. So here we are on the eve of the 4th of July, watching unending nonsense come out of the White House. And we are reminded that there is both the absurd, there is the algae, and then there is truly horrific actions by the judicial branch of our government, even if they, from time to time, have found their way to reasonableness. So excited for the show, excited to talk about all of this and really get into it.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. When we come forward, we're going to dive right in with Barrett Holmes Pittner and Liz King. We're going to be talking about the Supreme Court and the enormous amount of work that they accomplished and some of the decisions and how they impact our lives. More when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Wishing happy birthday to KBLA. 5 years old, yeah, with more that's coming your way. Congratulations, come on, y'all, let's celebrate. Happy birthday to KBLA. Look, 5 years deep and we still going up. Built it from the ground, never real, no one else. Real talk on the air, then the truth get heard. Every day the proof getting served. He had a vision and he stayed with the plan. Now they tapped in from the beach to the land. Never back down, 7 days of the week, still going up now. We 5 years deep. Wishing happy birthday to KBLA. Happy smiling, you did it with 5 years today. Congratulations, come on y'all, let's celebrate. Happy birthday to KBLA.
Are you drowning in IRS tax debt? Angela was. She called Civic Tax Relief and saved over $80,000. Felicia was having health problems, got behind on her taxes, interest and penalties were adding up. She called Civic Tax Relief and saved over $15,000. Civic Tax Relief is a professional tax negotiation firm that can protect you from the IRS. If you're getting collection letters, call Civic Tax Relief for a free consultation. They will go to work helping you discover all the relief programs you may qualify for free. James owed the IRS $37,000. Civic Tax Relief represented him against the IRS, and by the time everything was completed, he did not owe the IRS anything. If you are in trouble with the IRS, call Civic Tax Relief for your free consultation now. 800-200-2257. 800-200-2257. Get a free consultation and real tax relief. Call 800-200-2257. 800-200-2257.
This November, you'll decide who leads California. So shouldn't you hear directly from the people asking for your vote? Join us for California Voices, a political town hall and ballot forum, Saturday, October 3rd, 2026. Meet candidates running for governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, and other major statewide and local offices, including Mayor of Los Angeles, city attorney, and LA County Sheriff. Get clear, nonpartisan breakdowns of the propositions on your November ballot, both sides, no spin. And ask your questions directly, in real conversation, face to face. California Voices is brought to you by KBLA Talk 1580 and the Empowerment Congress, giving you the information you need before you vote. Mark your calendar, Saturday, October 3rd, 2026, California Voices. Follow KBLA 1580 for details and download the KBLA 1580 app. Your vote, your voice. Be there.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. It's Tenacious Tuesday, and we're lighting it up with Liz King, our very special guest, Barrett Holmes Pittner, a philosopher, author, A current focus of Brother Bittner's is to center Reconstruction era of U.S. history to better understand American society today and supply a framework for reconstructing it along the lines of more Reconstruction amendments to the United States Constitution. Barrett, welcome to the show. So glad that you are here. Liz, why don't we start with TPS and the impact that it's having on and will have on at least 350,000 Haitians who are in the United States.
Yeah, absolutely, Congressman. So what happened here was that the Supreme Court said they did not have the authority to review the administrative decision that canceled TPS. So TPS stands for Temporary Protected Status, and it is a legal designation that is applied to some immigrants when it is not safe to return to their home country. And so historically, TPS has been used in situations where there is civil war in that country, when there's a massive natural disaster, when there's sort of other things that just make it unsafe to go back. And so people have to stay in the United States, extended stay in the United States, because it's not safe to go home. Obviously, the conditions in Haiti have not changed. There is a lot of challenge for the people in Haiti, and it is very challenging for people who live in the United States now to return. Obviously this decision was a cruel and inhumane decision, but it was also an explicitly racial decision. Trump has been very clear about the way he feels about Haiti and about Haitians, and has used a lot of anti-Black tropes when he has talked about Haiti, when he has talked about Haitians. And so the Supreme Court, despite the obvious racial animus motivating this decision, despite the fact that this policy in general did not follow the process that is required of the law, the Supreme Court essentially washed their hands because Trump didn't use the N-word. They're calling it not a racist decision, and they're saying they don't have the authority to review. And it really is. And I think that what we have seen so clearly from Justice Jackson is that in so many instances, she and occasionally Justice Sotomayor are alone in understanding what these laws mean in the lives of regular people. And so it is a cruel decision that is going to mean a very difficult road ahead for Haitians in the United States, and certainly very distressing. But, one of the things, Congressman, we were talking about a little bit before is the overlap between Haiti and where Haiti fits in the U.S. understanding of Black liberation. And I know that that's something that Barrett has talked about, written about. But yes, this is obviously a terrible decision, obviously wrongly decided, with significant and very cruel implications.
Barrett, take your time and give us the contextualization of what we're looking at.
Yeah, the TPS decision, the unfortunate thing is it was entirely predictable that the court would find a way to wash their hands of this decision and make it seem as they were just being like neutral arbiters and not, using any sort of racial animus or a desire to, regress America to like a pre-Reconstruction status quo. But essentially that's what they're doing. And I think it's quite interesting when you think about America historically and the language that people felt comfortable using. If you were before Reconstruction, people were very comfortable using racist language in documents. After Reconstruction, once that became illegal, you then had to conceal the intent in the documents. People might be comfortable saying racist stuff out loud, but when it came to policies, they're going to try to prevent African Americans from voting. They're going to make poll taxes or literacy exams, things that seem neutral at face value, but then they would communicate publicly and just use racist language. We're in this really fascinating era now where you have to code everything. And the onus is almost for people to come out and say that they are racist in their actions. And we are disregarding the impact and the racial impact and how it's clearly motivated by the actions and the outcomes along a racial divide. And the fact that this is happening to Haiti should not be surprising, because once the Haitians rebelled and defeated the French, American society, especially in the South, went on full panic mode. This type of freedom and liberation was not a thing that Americans embraced. They were not excited about Haitians defeating the French and trying to create a democracy and having a constitution. It was Black people have the capacity to rebel and defeat colonizers, and we are steadfastly opposed to that. My ancestors, were free persons of color in Charleston in the late 1700s and early 1800s. I know that the liberation of Haiti spread to the Black community in Charleston and emboldened Black people back then. And then the Southerners had to further clamp down and rein stuff in because they were afraid, because at the time, South Carolina, about 50% of the population were enslaved. And so, not surprisingly, when the Civil War started and African Americans were trying to flee Charleston, a lot of my ancestors fled to Haiti because this was a place that was known for liberation. And due to Haiti being an island that has been one of Black liberation and countering colonizers and European domination, the West has tried to make it economically difficult for Haiti to thrive. Like they still are owing money to the French government and all sorts of stuff like that. So like the fact that Haiti is in a hardship right now is not a coincidence. It's, you know, it's an agenda that many of the Western powers have wanted to put on Haiti as punishment for freedom. And so there's so many layers to this, where the Haitians are coming to America for aid, for security, because Reconstruction made America a place that people could come to for safety. You could be a citizen and have rights in America without having to be a landowning white male. You know, that it was open. This openness encouraged people from Haiti and from around the world to feel like this is the place that they could come to. And so like the connection, the interwovenness of all of this is really quite significant, where it's really attack on the America that Reconstruction made and all the derivative impacts of that. And it's all interconnected here.
You know, speaking of that interconnectedness, because you raised something that I'd never given any thought to and had not heard until this moment. And that is that the Haitian Revolution inspired Africans, they weren't Americans yet, but Africans trapped in slavery in the chattel system here in the United States, many of whom escaped to Haiti because of the new independence movement that took place there, which means they were born in the United States, naturalized in the United States. There may or may not have been a 14th Amendment at the time, but they escaped to Haiti to get their freedom. They come back to the United States, and theoretically, if there were paperwork to show that they had ancestors who were born in the United States, they'd be naturalized citizens under any modern interpretation of the 14th Amendment. Is that what I think I heard you say?
I have ancestors who, during the Civil War in Charleston, because just think about it, all the African Americans in Charleston during the Civil War were trying to flee. And so they made it, the white people who owned and controlled most of Charleston made it very difficult for Black people to get out. So my ancestors smuggled themselves out of Charleston and went to Haiti. They landed in Haiti and stayed there for almost a year. And then they took a boat from Haiti, avoided the southern waters, and went to New York, enlisted in the Union Army, and then fought in the Civil War for the North, and then stayed in New York and eventually came back to Charleston. But this is an avenue that African Americans were able to do, because just think about it. These southern states are very big. If you escape one plantation, you're not arriving in safety. So the idea of being able to overthrow and prevail and create your own society was almost inconceivable. Maybe you could create a little enclave, but a whole nation, couldn't imagine it. Once Haiti did it, all the African Americans were just this is a reality. This is a thing that could exist. There's a place that's trying to make it. And so something that was theoretical became actual. And I think in many ways, the people who are anti-Black liberation or just Black equality have really been quite negative towards Haiti for hundreds of years as a result.
Liz, I want to take advantage of all the time that we have with Brother Pittner before he has another priority that we've already discussed that's extremely important. Liz, take us right through our constitutional decisions, Liz, that Brother Pittner can participate in while he's here. Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we were talking about Mullen v. Doe. That was the Haiti TPS decision. But I think the big decision today that everyone's going to be talking about for a while is called Trump v. Barbara. This is the decision that found that the 14th Amendment means what the 14th Amendment says. And so this is about birthright citizenship. Everyone who is born in the United States is a citizen of the United States. But Barrett, definitely tell us more. You have been studying and talking about the 14th Amendment. You've been talking about the transformative event that was Reconstruction. And I did see in the opinion that was written about this, Trump v. Barbara, reflected a lot of the way that you've been talking about this as well. So definitely, share more with us about the research that you've done and where the 14th Amendment fits in our idea of what it means to be America.
Well, the Supreme Court upheld birthright citizenship by essentially, it's a 6-3, but essentially like a 5-4 decision, which is narrow. The fact that it's not 9-0 is just outrageous. And so, like, it's a victory and a defeat because we're now seeing just like how these justices are trying to argue that the Constitution is unconstitutional. And so we're seeing these arguments, and it's just the most absurd thing you've ever seen. And so if you look at Thomas's argument, also the thing that makes it really alarming is they're cherry picking a lot of their arguments to try to narrow down Reconstruction, to narrow down the intent of Reconstruction. And this is really what happened immediately after Reconstruction. But the most significant example that we all Americans know about would be the Plessy v. Ferguson decision, because during Reconstruction, equality became a thing that people cared about. Equality was not part of American democracy before Reconstruction. That just wasn't even a concept. Equality then became a discussion. Do we mean legal equality or social equality? Are Black people, do they have equal protection under the law? And does that mean that they're allowed to equally cohabitate in spaces alongside white people? Clearly, Reconstruction said yes. That's why African Americans were members of Congress and did all sorts of stuff. Plessy v. Ferguson, they're like, we're going to whittle this down, where now you have legal equality, but not social equality. The social equality can be separate. And so the absurd arguments that Thomas made, and even Gorsuch, and without a doubt Alito, but also Kavanaugh, are these arguments where they're trying to whittle down the meaning of Reconstruction by claiming that they have a clarity of the intent of the founders of Reconstruction. Just like these originalists say that we have a clarity of the intent of the founders of American democracy, these four people have the divine clarity of these people too. And even though that they have the clarity, they all are disagreeing with each other on their decisions. So they all are clearly seeing the intent of these people while also disagreeing about what these people are actually saying. And so like their arguments individually just don't make any sense. But like their arguments collectively undermine their entire argument of originalism, but also textualism, because they're reading completely different interpretations of the text. Like I think, Kavanaugh's one I found to be very fascinating, because this person is saying that there was like a finite definition of the birth of what birthright citizenship meant at this time. And that's what we need to look at. But if you look at Reconstruction was a very dynamic era that was expansive of democracy. Like we're really talking about, like if you go year after year, you can see that it's all expanding. Like 14th Amendment doesn't even include Black male suffrage. That's an expansion. It's all an expansion. So even this notion of like this finite, we need to look at it here. And if we do this finite application, I could imagine that in the future, these founders might think that the children of undocumented parents may not have citizenship. It's just an absurd argument. And that's like even less egregious than Thomas's entire argument, which went on for nearly 100 pages. So it's all ridiculous.
I attended St. Albans Episcopal High School in Washington, D.C., and Brett Kavanaugh attended Georgetown Preparatory High School. I played football against him my senior year. I scored a touchdown on linebacker or tight end or free safety, Brett Kavanaugh. I should have put my helmet in his chest en route to that touchdown.
Maybe he's got CTE.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. We're lighting it up over here with Liz King on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. It's Tenacious Tuesday. Our very special guest, Barrett Holmes Bittner. We're covering the Supreme Court and its most recent decisions. You'll want to hear more when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm
Amber Payton with BIN News Now. The Detroit Lions have released cornerback Terrion Arnold after a Florida judge granted him a $1 million bond in his felony kidnapping case.
They're punching them, they're striking them with the weapons, and they're holding them against the wall.
Prosecutors say Arnold helped set up an attack on 3 men, including 2 he believes stole from him at an Airbnb. The judge allowed bail without an ankle monitor. Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook will remain on the central bank's board while her lawsuit against President Trump moves forward. In a 5-4 decision, the Supreme Court denied the administration's request to pause a lower court order restoring Cook, the first Black woman to serve on the Fed's Board of Governors. And Black and Indigenous community members in South Dakota are launching the Day One movement focused on taking land back and reparations. Organizers say they will skip July 3rd and 4th celebrations and push for change starting July 5th. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
It's the Big O Tires Flash Sale. Buy 3 select tires, get 1 free with paid installation, or get 50% off a full synthetic oil change and 20% off any repair service. The Big O Tires Flash Sale through July 5th at your local Big O.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The LeBron James era with the Lakers is over. LeBron informed the Lakers this morning that he intends to continue his NBA career, but not with them. Lakers management was hoping the 41-year-old LeBron, who becomes an unrestricted free agent tomorrow, would return for a 9th season with the Lakers. Starting tomorrow, LeBron can sign with any team. LeBron's decision is not a complete surprise. There were reports circulating Monday that the Golden State Warriors are planning to make a contract offer to LeBron. The door is now open for Golden State to do that. A decision Monday by Golden State forward Draymond Green may have been the first step in this process. Green declined a player option worth $27.6 million, a move that indicates he's willing to take less money to make salary cap room for LeBron. Much more to come on this significant development. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Turn the dial to where the truth lives. This is KBLA Talk 1580.
Number 14. That's where Talkers Magazine ranked Tavis Smiley on their heavy 100 list of the 100 most important talk radio hosts in America. Join Tavis weekdays, 9 a.m. to noon or 9 p.m. to midnight. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Let's do this.
We're heading into one of the most important election seasons in a generation. And with so much on the line, your healthcare, your economy, your neighborhood, you deserve more than sound bites. You deserve the full story. KBLA Talk 1580 is your trusted voice for political coverage, commentary, and conversation. From local races to national headlines, we bring you the insight and perspective you need to make sense of it all and make your voice heard. Between now and November, a lot will happen. A lot will change. But one thing won't. KBLA Talk 1580 will be right here, keeping you informed, keeping you engaged, and keeping it real. KBLA Talk 1580, the place for politics.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. These are hard times for housing in America. Too many in our community face barriers to safe housing, behavioral health care, and affirming spaces for healing, particularly those impacted by poverty and stigma or incarceration. Rooted in South LA, Ahmad supports impacted communities through housing, wellness, and leadership development. Ahmad provides culturally responsive, peer-led support from transitional housing and mental health services to leadership development and youth empowerment. They offer safe, affirming houses for youth, transgender women, and formerly incarcerated individuals. Therapy and peer support with a focus on healing trauma in Black communities. HIV prevention and care, free testing, education, and wraparound services for whole person wellness. Standing in the gap with health, housing, and hope. Reach out to Ahmad Institute at 323-569-1610. That's 323-569-1610. Or visit amaad.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Don't be anxious or confused about AI. Take control of your career when you get the skills to tackle real business problems and design specialized solutions. HR Dive reported that entry-level talent with applied AI credentials can receive up to a 25% salary boost. But where do you find training that you can trust? Future-proof your career and deliver more value with Humans Lead the Way AI. Their hybrid learning courses use practical definitions, real-world examples, and strategic insights to help you and your team understand AI with confidence. No magic, no hacks, no shortcuts. Just practical knowledge that helps you use AI more successfully. Don't wait. AI can never replace people who know how to use it well. Register for courses today at humansleadtheway.com. That's humansleadtheway.com.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
It's Tenacious Tuesday on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. We're lighting it up with Liz King on the J Lunch Club. Our very special guest today is Barrett Holmes Pittner, philosopher, author, educator, journalist, and founder of the Sustainable Culture Club. Hey, welcome both of you back to the show. I want to make a point because our listeners have heard this point on this show many, many times, that the Bill of Rights, the dividing line of the Constitution with the Bill of Rights, was the 10th Amendment to the Constitution. The Southerners used the 10th Amendment as the legal basis for Fort Sumter and the secession movement outside of the Union, to leave the Union, to abandon the Union, inaugurating the American Civil War. The argument, of course, was, as a state, we have a right to do what we want with our Negroes, to do what we want with our property, to do what we want with our chattel, and none of y'all folks up north can come down here and tell us what to do down here with our Negroes. That was the dividing line of the Constitution legally. And of course, if slavery is a state right, then states' rights can never be human rights. So, to Barrett Holmes Pittner's point, the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment overcome the limitations of states' rights, and they argue that slavery is no longer in the purview of the states. It is elevated to the Constitution as a human right to be born free, to not be born in a form of chattel slavery, to have equal protection under the laws, and the right to participate in the democracy established a human rights paradigm. So, I always divide Supreme Court decisions along the lines, are we building a more perfect union, or are we building or advancing more perfect states' rights? And today, Liz King, the Supreme Court ruled in the transgendered case that they were returning transgendered Americans back to the slave system. It just not prepared to recognize their human rights and overcome the limitations of the 10th Amendment. A kind of chattel. Liz?
Yeah, absolutely, Congressman. What we're seeing here is the Supreme Court is once again allowing human rights, civil rights, human dignity in the United States to depend where in the United States that you live. And the reality is, I think Barrett's point about the Supreme Court found the Constitution to be unconstitutional, I think is absolutely what we're saying here.
That's amazing.
It's such a great line. We all are going to be saying that one. And it is. And the reality is that you have rights under the Constitution no matter where in this country you live, no matter whether or not your local or state government has any interest in acknowledging or protecting those rights. And I think the comparison that you're drawing between the decision today in West Virginia v. BPJ and what we saw with the Fugitive Slave Act is a really important, instructive comparison insofar as we're talking about allowing for continued discrimination. And the question, what the court did not say is if you are allowed to require it. It chose not to require discrimination. And I think what we're going to see an argument coming from the Trump administration, they are increasingly trying to require discrimination against transgender, non-binary, intersex, and just gender non-conforming people. What we are going to see as a result of the decision today is more girls who are very talented athletes having their girlhood questioned, having to defend their girlhood in incredibly, incredibly invasive ways. And we're going to see this disproportionately happen to women of color who are taller than other girls, whose bodies might be different shapes than other girls, and who do not conform to white notions of femininity. And it really is just a reckless decision, an irresponsible decision that is going to lead to harm against children in so many different ways. And those of us who live in states that respect our rights, respect our families, and show up for us are grateful once again to live in those states. And once again, we're in the situation of being reminded that there are Americans who have fewer rights than us. We're going to see more migration within the United States, just as we did in the early 20th century when people were leaving areas of less rights and moving to areas of greater rights. I mean, it is a terrible decision that came, we're seeing this back to back. I think that Barrett's other really good point that I want to lift up here is, as much as the birthright citizenship decision today was a win, because they did not undo the entire Civil War, it is also a loss because this should have been a unanimous decision. There was nothing hard about this legal question. When they put out this executive order, they knew the executive order. This is the executive order that sought to undermine birthright citizenship, that Trump sought to say that he got to take people's citizenship away because, once again, he doesn't care about the Constitution or Americans. But I think that the idea that this was not a unanimous decision is a profound loss, and it portends bad things for the future of our democracy. I think you raised, Congressman, the threshold question. Is this Supreme Court making us a more perfect union or taking us backwards? And absolutely what we're seeing is a move in the wrong direction, away from a more perfect union.
I know I'm going to be losing Barrett after this break for a very high priority, which we all certainly respect, Barrett. We have we have 4 minutes, Barrett. Take your time.
Perfect. So I think we need to look at both these decisions as a direct attack on the 14th Amendment, because what most people forget about the 14th Amendment is because we think about Equal Protection Clause, birthright citizenship, but what it did is it made the Bill of Rights federally enforceable. Prior to the 14th Amendment, you had the 10th Amendment, which made the Bill of Rights not federally enforceable, where the states had their own authority. They could do it. So like what that means is like our notion of freedom of speech today is completely different than freedom of speech before the 14th Amendment. Even if you're a person who is a Second Amendment person who loves guns, it was completely different before the 14th Amendment. So when these justices talk about originalism, where they were trying to divine the original intent of the founders, they're really trying to recreate an America that we would view as just a dystopia, where like your rights is as simple as like freedom of speech, and everything else is subjected to all the states. Your job transfers you from Ohio to New York, it's different, or it transfers you from New York to Texas, and now you aren't legally allowed to say certain things. Like that's what America was like before the 14th Amendment. And so this right here, this whittling out of the 14th Amendment and trying to getting America back to how it was before that is just a profound regression. And I think the clearer we are to acknowledging that the America before 1865 is just not a place that most Americans would want to live in today. Just objectively speaking, not a place they'd want to live. Like the Fugitive Slave Act, the argument that they gave for that was that they had to protect states' rights and the property of the owners, and Black people were property. Therefore, they now get to invade northern states. They were doing the Fugitive Slave Act to sustain the principles of the 10th Amendment. Like, it's crazy when you think about it, but like just the argument of originalism and following the founders' intent is going to logically create decisions like Liz was talking about. And they're going to question the 14th Amendment, whether the founders intended for it to happen. It's like, well, of course they didn't, because you couldn't have, if they wanted to have birthright citizenship, they wouldn't have been slave owners. It's really quite clear. And so I think it's a very crystal clear example. And also Liz made a great example of how people are going to be moving to various states because they want to live in states where they know their rights are protected. And this decision makes it brings that to the forefront. And oftentimes people think about like the Great Migration as an example, where African Americans were moving from state to state so we could get our freedom. But the Great Migration is just like, I kind of call that the overground railroad, where we were able to leave the South during the daylight in a car. But like the Underground Railroad and slave rebellions and fleeing to the North, it's the same principle. Like this dystopian norm that existed before Reconstruction, they recreated it during Jim Crow. And this court, how they're interpreting Reconstruction specifically and attacking the 14th Amendment, is trying to recreate an America where, if we honestly look at it, nobody would want to live in it. Nobody would want to live in America in the early 20th century under Jim Crow, and nobody would want to live in America before the Civil War, where slavery was the norm. And that's really the principles that they're invoking in these decisions, which is quite troubling.
We're lighting it up with Liz King. I sure hope CNN, MSNBC, and the national news programs are listening to the mind of Barrett Holmes Pittner, philosopher, author, educator, and journalist. He could really break down for you nationally what's actually taking place here, and we cannot ignore his interpretation or Liz King's interpretation of what's taking place in our society. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More with Liz King when we come forward. Barrett, my very best to your daughter. Have a wonderful time doing daddy duty. I appreciate you, man. More when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Listen up, KBLA delegation. We have something you need to hear. Right now, you may qualify for low-cost home internet. And we're not talking about a catch. This is real. Many internet service providers offer low-cost internet plans if anyone in your household is enrolled in CalFresh, Medi-Cal, SSI, or is income eligible. There are a lot of families in our community who deserve to be connected. Here's all you do. Call 844-461-7893. That's the Get Connected call center. Real people ready to help you enroll today. Or go online to internetforallnow.org to find a provider near you. You may also qualify for a low-cost computer through Human IT. Connectivity is not a luxury. In 2026, it's a necessity, and you deserve access just like everybody else. Call 844-461-7893. That's 844-461-7893. KBLA's got you. If you missed any of this, you can always go to our website at KBLA1580.com. Brought to you by KBLA Talk 1580 in partnership with the California Emerging Technology Fund, CETF.
Let's do this.
We're heading into one of the most important election seasons in a generation. And with so much on the line, your healthcare, your economy, your neighborhood, you deserve more than sound bites. You deserve the full story. KBLA Talk 1580 is your trusted voice for political coverage, commentary, and conversation. From local races to national headlines, we bring you the insight and perspective you need to make sense of it all and make your voice heard. Between now and November, a lot will happen. A lot will change. But one thing won't. KBLA Talk 1580 will be right here, keeping you informed, keeping you engaged, and keeping it real. KBLA Talk 1580, the place for politics.
Going to a World Cup match in LA this summer? Ditch the parking stress and ride Metro. With direct service from across LA County, it's the easy way to get there for just $1.75 each way.
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. Perfectly imperfect. Beating in rhythm to the world you've created. But every time you drive after drinking, music gets drowned out. Your life sounds pretty great. Don't let a buzz ruin it. Buzz driving is drunk driving. Don't drive buzzed. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
If you have unfiled taxes or are in debt to the IRS, this is important news. Did you know the IRS has programs specifically designed to help people struggling with tax debt? Powerful tax assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief, America's most trusted tax resolution firm. A-rated by the Better Business Bureau, their award-winning tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $3 billion of tax debt for their clients. One call to Optima can start the process, helping to put an end to your worries about wage garnishment, asset seizure, and other aggressive IRS actions. Find the best options to solve your tax problems. Call the experts at Optima Tax Relief today for a free consultation.
Call 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Folly drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. It's Tenacious Tuesday on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. In the very next hour, our very special guest will be Judge Wendell Griffin, an Arkansas lawyer, jurist, legal educator, business leader, ordained Baptist minister, and public speaker. We're going to continue breaking down the Supreme Court and their most recent decisions. And I want Liz King to know that if I were president of the United States, I would share with the American people something that they probably don't know but need to. You do not have to be a lawyer to be on the United States Supreme Court. And I would stand right there as president of the United States and insist that my nominee, Liz King, were able to survive confirmation in the United States Senate, or all hell's going to break loose. Liz, why don't we've got just about another segment, about 8 minutes or so, and we began with a number of Supreme Court decisions that I think we need to move through fairly quickly and share our thoughts. Go ahead, Liz.
Yeah, thank you so much, Congressman. One decision, first of all, I just wanted to give just a shout out to Justice Jackson's concurrence in the Trump v. Barbara. What I found striking is that she talks about the way in which emancipated people at the time of the 14th Amendment, formerly enslaved people, viewed themselves as part of a rainbow coalition. And she didn't use that phrasing, but that is clearly what she meant. And I just, as a shout out to your father, it seemed like a good reminder that people have been in coalition. They have been coming together to fight for justice across lines of difference for many generations now. And I thought that was an important reminder.
Ketanji's a real hero in a very, very difficult work environment.
And I mean, and certainly, yes, a true scholar and just a brilliant lawyer. And I think she just this recognition that for so many of us that the meaning of America really has been e pluribus unum, and it really has been about unity and coming together to build a country across lines of difference. And one of the decisions we have not yet talked about today that is going to make that harder is the NRSC versus FEC. So that is a bunch of letters. That means National Republican Senatorial Committee versus the Federal Elections Commission. And this is the decision that came out and is going to make it easier for super PACs and for these big moneyed interests. Basically, it's going to make it easier for corporations to have a louder voice in our elections, to influence the outcome of our elections. And I think, you know, we've talked a lot about the threats to our democracy. We've talked a lot about the threats to our more perfect union and this continued influence of corporate money and the way in which very wealthy people are able to buy elections, I think is just terrible.
Does this mean we're going to be looking at multi-billion-dollar election cycles in the United States in the not too distant future?
Absolutely. I think we're going to see, just as, you know, thinking back to the time of the robber barons and the railroad magnates and the people who owned the coal mines and, you know, the people who shaped the politics of places like California and Illinois for a very long time in very, very dangerous ways. You know, I saw the bio for your next guest thinking about the Workers' Compensation Commission. And what does it mean to when these wealthy elites, when these economic bosses are controlling our politics, controlling our politicians, controlling our policy? What does that mean for worker safety? What does that mean for worker rights? What does that mean for economic justice? And I think the Supreme Court and their decision to allow money to flow, even more money to flow, we're going to see people like Elon Musk are just going to buy, they're going to buy Senate seats, they'll buy House seats, they'll buy presidential elections. And it is undermining of democracy, it is undermining of the people's voice, and it is going to be a problem in the midterms, in the next presidential, and for many years to come.
Liz, are there any other decisions that we're missing at this hour?
Well, there's a whole bunch of decisions. One website I will recommend to all of your listeners is called SCOTUS Blog, SCOTUSBLOG. SCOTUS Blog does some really great analysis. You know, we talked about Haiti TPS. Syrians also were a part of that decision. I think part of the reason was to try and make the argument that it was not as racially motivated as it obviously was. But we have seen a lot of other decisions. There was a good decision that is going to allow voters in Mississippi to have their ballots counted, even if they are not received by Election Day. We're seeing Justice Amy Coney Barrett take a lot of heat for that one. Once again, on some level, I want to believe that John Roberts understands that his decision in Calais is going to be understood as one of the most disgraceful moments of his life, where he once again proceeded to gut the Voting Rights Act and dilute the ability of Black voters in the United States to elect leaders of their choice. And so I think there has been some effort to, he is making some effort to not appear like such a bad guy. And obviously the way to do that was to not have decided wrongly on Calais. So definitely a lot of other decisions. Yeah, sorry.
Let me ask you this question. If you think about it, on our show and on KBLA, we spend a lot of time encouraging people to get out and vote. And if we vote in our states, we have a great opportunity to influence the electoral college in that state to determine the 270 electors to make a president. Or if we vote in primary processes, we can actually select our individual representative in the United States. And if we run successfully statewide and get a plurality of the vote, we can actually elect our voice on the floor of the United States Senate. But in a real sense, the Supreme Court of the United States is one of those bodies, Liz, as we think about our word of hope, where we have to rely upon people who are not elected, where we don't have the ability to determine the outcome of their thinking. Liz, what constitutes a word of hope in that environment?
I think what we're being reminded of today is that the Constitution is never unconstitutional. And when you are the Supreme Court and you have to rely on the logic that you have to rely on a logic that says the Constitution is unconstitutional, you are in the wrong. Ultimately, the Supreme Court, everyone on the Supreme Court was nominated by a president who was elected by the American public. They were confirmed by senators who were elected by the American public. And so while it is an indirect democratic control and the Supreme Court is fundamentally removed from our democratic system, it is nominally accountable. I think what we are seeing is the long legs of past efforts to undermine elections, past efforts to take away the authority, the discretion we have over these deeply, deeply consequential decisions. There was a time when they would say, Republicans care about courts and Democrats don't care about courts, and Democrats need to. I think we're all being reminded of how deeply, deeply consequential the Supreme Court is. And that every time everyone votes, they should know that when you vote, you are making decisions about how the money will be spent, about who will be taxed. You're making decisions about who will hold executive branch offices. You will decide who is in charge of DHS and who is in charge of USDA, and you will decide who will nominate the next justice of the Supreme Court. Will it be Ketanji Brown Jackson, or will it be John Roberts? Will it be Sonia Sotomayor, or will it be Clarence Thomas? And I think it is a reminder that every election has consequences, that every vote matters. And even when they tell us our votes matter, even when they tell us we don't deserve a democracy, we know different. We know they're wrong. And they wouldn't lie so much if they had right on their side. They wouldn't lie so much if they could defend what they're saying. I think that's what we're seeing. And that's why we're all going to vote. We're all going to vote every single time we can.
So grateful to have this wonderful time with Liz King. I really wanted to talk with her at some point in time in the not too distant future about the division within the Democratic Party and the fight over democratic socialism versus the mainline Democrats who are running for their lives against Mamdani, Bernie Sanders, and AOC-backed candidates. I'm sure Liz has a lot to share on that subject matter. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. When we come forward, Judge Wendell Griffin, we're going to break down these cases as only a judge and a Baptist preacher can do. More when we come forward right here on KBLA Talk 1580. Thank you.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. The Detroit Lions have released cornerback Terrion Arnold after a Florida judge granted him a $1 million bond in his felony kidnapping case.
They're punching them, they're striking them with the weapons, and they're holding them against the wall.
Prosecutors say Arnold helped set up an attack on 3 men, including 2 he believes stole from him at an Airbnb. The judge allowed bail without an ankle monitor. Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook will remain on the central bank's board while her lawsuit against President Trump moves forward. In a 5-4 decision, the Supreme Court denied the administration's request to pause a lower court order restoring Cook, the first Black woman to serve on the Fed's Board of Governors. And Black and Indigenous community members in South Dakota are launching the Day One movement focused on taking land back and reparations. Organizers say they will skip July 3rd and 4th celebrations and push for change starting July 5th. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
It's the Big O Tires Flash Sale. Buy 3 select tires, get 1 free with paid installation, or get 50% off a full synthetic oil change and 20% off any repair service. The Big O Tires Flash Sale through July 5th at your local Big O.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The LeBron James era with the Lakers is over. LeBron informed the Lakers this morning that he intends to continue his NBA career, but not with them. Lakers management was hoping the 41-year-old LeBron, who becomes an unrestricted free agent tomorrow, would return for a 9th season with the Lakers. Starting tomorrow, LeBron can sign with any team. LeBron's decision is not a complete surprise. There were reports circulating Monday that the Golden State Warriors are planning to make a contract offer to LeBron. The door is now open for Golden State to do that. A decision Monday by Golden State forward Draymond Green may have been the first step in this process. Green declined a player option worth $27.6 million, a move that indicates he's willing to take less money to make salary cap room for LeBron. Much more to come on this significant development. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
All I need is one mic. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. The headline in the newspaper read, Black leaders join forces to bring Destination Crenshaw toward the finish line. Now, beyond the headline phraseology of toward the finish line, if you actually read the article, it said that Black-owned contractors are now being mobilized, major new financing is being secured, and it is anticipated that construction activities will begin within the next weeks. That statement has more hedges than a Beverly Hills mansion, more hedges than a nervous groom's wedding vows written by a divorce lawyer. But it's funny how progress starts moving once somebody turns on a microphone. 4 weeks of KBLA editorials, and suddenly everyone has found their hard hats. It's amazing what happens when the community starts asking questions out loud, and this is why Black media matters. We don't need more empty promises. We need a finished project. Political accountability to Black fellow citizens means that elected officials and institutions must answer for their actions or inaction in ways that are real, measurable, and consequential when they fail to follow through. I suppose the good news here is that LA City Council President and 8th District Representative Marquise Harris Dawson is now officially on the record. But to be clear, he's also on the clock. Remember now, it is anticipated that construction activities will begin within the next weeks. We shall see. We have exercised our right to free speech, but there are other rights the Black business community can exercise as well. This is a classic example of a public nuisance claim, if ever there was one. Again, we shall see. What I can tell you is that Black business owners and Crenshaw community residents have been calling, emailing, and literally showing up in our lobby demanding more and asking how they can sign on to this effort. Put simply, after years of delay, the people have had enough. My big mama put it this way: Once a task you have first begun, never finish until it is done. Be the labor great or small, do it well or not at all. And finally, while the citizens in Crenshaw appeal to Mr. Harris Dawson to fulfill the city's obligations to us, the LA City Council debates whether non-citizens can vote in local elections. I declare, here again, that's not leadership, that's misplaced priorities. Now, I need to put on my hard hat, go outside, and wait for these procrastination Crenshaw construction crews to show up. I'll let you know if and when they do. Trust and believe. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. As always, we welcome your feedback.
Junior Show. The Jesse Jackson Junior Show. The Jesse Jackson Junior Show. The Jesse Jackson Junior Show. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA. Talk 1580, download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 15. It's the J Lunch Club, and it's Tuesday. Normally, we would be engaging Barbara Arnwine in this hour, but our Barbara's time is very critical for Barbara at the end of a Supreme Court term, and she is offering interpretations all over the country. But our very special guest really needs no introduction. Judge Wendell Griffin is an Arkansas lawyer, jurist, legal educator, business leader, ordained Baptist minister, and public speaker. On April 15, 1985, Governor Bill Clinton appointed him chairman of the Arkansas Workers' Compensation Commission, making Griffin the first person of color named to that state agency and the first to chair it. Judge Griffin served in that position until February 2nd, 1987, when he returned to his law practice with Wright, Lindsay, and Jennings. Governor Jim Guy Tucker appointed Judge Griffin to the Court of Appeals at the end of 1995, and he entered judicial service in 1996. While on the Court of Appeals, the judge also remained active in professional, civic, and religious life, including service as president of the Pulaski County Bar Association, pastor of Emmanuel Baptist Church of Little Rock, Arkansas, and parliamentarian of the National Baptist Convention, USA, Inc. He's the author of 2 books, The Fierce Urgency of Prophetic Hope and Parables, Politics, and Prophetic Faith. Judge, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Brother, it's good to see you. Good to talk to you again. Thanks for having me on.
Judge, it's always a pleasure. Judge, we have about 3 minutes in the first part of our show. And of course, you know, the breakdown for the rest of the segments. Judge, this has been a fairly amazing, not necessarily in the positive for our basic human rights, end of the term for the Supreme Court of the United States. Judge Griffin, your initial thoughts.
This term shows us why the Electoral College needs to be abolished. Had there been no Electoral College, Donald Trump would not have been elected in 2016. That means there would have been no Neil Gorsuch, no Brett Kavanaugh, and no Amy Coney Barrett to do 3 votes on the Supreme Court. So the results would have been diametrically different. All of the bad decisions would not have happened.
Wow, I wasn't expecting you to go that far back to the very root cause of how they made it to the court in the first place.
Right. And so, you know, the Electoral College, because Trump lost the popular vote, remember? He lost the popular vote. So, and so there we have it. And remember now, remember, because Trump lost the popular vote, he got a chance to appoint Neil Gorsuch to Antonin Scalia's vacant seat that Mitch McConnell had blocked Barack Obama from filling.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. In this moment, I'm sitting back saying to myself, you are so right. But we are here now. We are here now looking at decisions that undermine the 14th Amendment to the Constitution. We are here now returning power to the states, changing the human rights standard that was established by the Reconstruction Amendments, 13, 14, and 15, overcoming states' rights with the idea that to be born in slavery is not a state right. That as Americans, when we are born, 13, 14, and 15, we have a human right not to be in chattel slavery. And establish a new paradigm for moving forward. Our previous guest in the previous hour really coined a phrase. We have a Supreme Court now that is determining the Constitution of the United States is unconstitutional.
I heard her say that, and I thought, wow, what a right thing to say. Because you have the Supreme Court saying that the Constitution is unconstitutional. And
unbelievable,
saying it with a straight face.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Judge Wendell Griffin is our very special guest for the next hour. We'll be talking about the Supreme Court and its most recent cases that are just devastating to the idea of second Reconstruction. More on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Wishing happy birthday to KBLA. 5 years old, yeah, with more that's coming your way. Congratulations, come on, y'all, let's celebrate. Happy birthday to KBLA. 5 years deep and we still going up. Built it from the ground, now the real no one else. Real talk on the air, then the truth get heard. Every day the proof getting served. He had a vision and he stayed with the plan. Now they tapped in from the beach to the land. Never back down, 7 days of the week. Still going up now, we 5 years deep. Wishing happy birthday to KBLA. Happy smiling, you did it with 5 years today. Congratulations, come on y'all, let's celebrate. Happy birthday to KBLA.
You know him, you trust him, and now the whole nation is taking notice. Talkers Magazine, the Bible of talk radio, has ranked Tavis Smiley number 14 on their prestigious Heavy 100 list. 100 voices, the most important in all of talk radio. Tavis has moved from number 45 to number 33 to number 16, and now he's in the top 15, right here on your station. His is one of the most trusted, credible, and reliable voices in broadcast media today. Straight, no chaser, always. Tavis brings you the conversations that matter, the newsmakers, the truth tellers, the voices that don't get heard anywhere else. Weekdays on this station. This is what it sounds like when your community has a seat at the table.
This November, you'll decide who leads California. So shouldn't you hear directly from the people asking for your vote? Join us for California Voices, a political town hall and ballot forum, Saturday, October 3rd, 2026. Meet candidates running for governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, and other major statewide and local offices, including mayor of Los Angeles, city attorney, and LA County sheriff. Get clear, nonpartisan breakdowns of the propositions on your November ballot, both sides, no spin. And ask your questions directly, in real conversation, face to face. California Voices is brought to you by KBLA Talk 1580 and the Empowerment Congress, giving you the information you need before you vote. Mark your calendar, Saturday, October 3rd, 2026, California Voices. Follow KBLA 1580 for details and download the KBLA 1580 app. Your vote, your voice. Be there.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download that.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Our very special guest in this hour is Judge Wendell Griffin. Judge, welcome forward to the show.
Thank you very much for having me back on, brother. It's good to be back on with you.
Judge, let's dive right in. Why would they take up a case on the 14th Amendment in the first place? The language is clear. It's clear on its face. And our previous guest, not only Liz King, but Brother Pittner, made it really, really clear that we needed a 9-0 decision from the Supreme Court. And we ended up with a, I think, 5-4, maybe 6-3.
5-4.
We ended up with a 5-4. How can the 14th Amendment, how can the jurors not see what everyone on earth knows about the 14th Amendment, the plain language of the 14th Amendment and its intent?
First of all, you're exactly right. The 14th Amendment is as clearly written as you could ask for, because it simply says a person born in the United States is a citizen of the United States. And that was directly created to counter Dred Scott v. Sanford, the 1857 decision that says basically a black person has no rights by virtue of the fact that black people were enslaved, even though they had been born in the United States. So the 14th
and we're
Amendment,
not citizens of the sovereignty, if I remember.
and
the
we're not
language.
citizens of sovereignty, exactly. And so you have to ask yourselves, what course in constitutional law taught these four justices that every person born in the United States is a citizen of the United States does not mean that every person born in the United States is a citizen of the United States? I don't think that Harvard, Yale, Princeton, or any of the Ivies that they go to would allow that. But this is the mindset of these jurists that the right wing has put on the court. And these are the same people, you recall, who swore during the confirmation hearings that they would follow precedent. They would follow the Constitution. So to call them hypocrites and disingenuous is to be kind. They're liars. They're frauds. They're ideologues.
Judge, we've seen along those lines. I made the case in the last hour that prior to the Reconstruction Amendments to the Constitution, 13, 14, and 15, establishing the standard that every human being has a right in this country to be born not in a state system of slavery, but to be born into a system where our human rights are not states' rights. These are our rights. And yet we've seen from the Dobbs decision, and now we've also seen in the transgender decision, a return to state power, hence turning, whether you agree with it or not, the individual rights of Americans back to the states. And I raised that question because it was brought to my attention earlier today by my producer that less than 1% of Americans are transgendered.
Right.
Big as this issue is, the transgendered community is so small in the United States, it's practically negligible. But everyone has an opinion on their freedom and the way in which they live their lives in a liberty system. Judge, can we talk about the regression of returning to states' rights?
Well, the fact is that we have a federal constitution because we do not leave certain things to be decided on a local basis, on a state-by-state basis. Whether or not one has the right to participate in a public school's athletic program, it does not depend on what state one should be living in. If the public school has a program, that program should not discriminate upon against 1% of 1% of 1% just because it wants to or can. And that person should not have to leave the state to go to another state in order to participate in a public program. Now, the fact of the matter is, we fought a civil war where 2/3 people were killed to dispel this notion of states' rights trumping everything. Then we had the regression of that after the Civil War, as you very well know, with Jim Crow. And then beginning with Brown v. Board of Education, we had the civil rights movement take off and have a new notion of equality. And then 64, we had the Civil Rights Act of 64. And then, of course, Title IX being part of that. But we have 3 generations of judges now. And let's be clear, Richard Nixon and Ed Meese began the process, but Ronald Reagan put it on overdrive. We have 3 generations of judges now who basically have sworn allegiance to the ocean of states' rights. And this is the situation we find ourselves in now. It's as if they didn't. It's as if they didn't think the civil rights, the Civil War meant anything.
You know, and I could certainly point it to a state Supreme Court or to a county court or to a state circuit as state officials enforcing state law and state judiciaries. But I don't understand how you can have a federal judiciary whose oath is to the Constitution of the United States, whose goal is to build a more perfect union for all Americans. And yet, as federal officials, federal jurists, they seem to deem it necessary to strengthen the state system on questions of human rights, when for the very reason and justification that you suggested, we fought a civil war to reestablish that interpretation. Pittner in the last hour was really great. He said, think about it. It took the 14th Amendment for the First Amendment to apply to some of us.
Yes.
It took the 14th Amendment for the right to bear arms to apply to some of us. It took the 14th Amendment to apply due process and the right to not be searched unnecessarily or unreasonably to apply to us. And now they're turning it on its head. Judge?
The 14th Amendment is very clear. It begins with this statement: all persons born and naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. And then the last clause is, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. That's just plain as your nose on your face. A transgender person is any person. And so the court's decision today basically reads personhood out of the Constitution for a person who are trans by virtue of their sexual identity. That is not only unconstitutional, it's literally, it's lunacy. How can one be depersonalized by virtue of one's gender identity under the law? This takes us back to Dred Scott, but it makes Dred Scott applicable for trans people in the situation of athletics in public schools. This is obscene.
You know, it's really interesting because I share with our listeners all the time, even though some people are sitting back home right now or in their barber shop or in their beauty shops, they're like, leave the trans issue alone. Leave the trans issue alone. I'm okay with the court turning it over to the states. No, you may not be, because when we talk about Dred Scott versus Sanford and the principle of the case, and we talk about, many of us don't even know what the facts of the case were. It's a transportation case.
Right.
The trans case isn't just about sports. It's about turning the human rights of people over to states.
Yes.
While you want it to be a racial decision, while you want it to be about returning Negroes to slavery or returning them to segregation, the decision that sent us backwards didn't present itself this time in the form of race.
No.
It presented itself to us this time in the form of the trans argument and the holding of the court that took our human rights, the same human rights that we had to overcome in Dred Scott, and it returned them to the states. So they're going to ignore the sexuality when they apply the principle of the case to when you fighting for something that's important to you in your state, and they turn your human right back over to the states. You see, I don't think liberals, Judge, are paying attention because of the very nature of the division amongst the American people over trans identified persons in sports.
And
that's not the issue.
That's not the issue.
Their human rights have been returned to the states. And when you come before the judge and you come before the court, your human right has now been turned over to the states, but it occurred in the trans case. Go ahead, Judge.
That last clause always gets me. Nor shall any state deprive any person. If a trans person is not treated with the same equality of every other person, that trans person has been depersonalized. That trans person has been dehumanized. Who is this person if he, she, or it is not a person? I mean,
I think that the decision here that we're missing isn't the birthright citizenship case. I mean, that's obvious, even though it should have been decided 9-0. The big issue here is the reemergence of Dred Scott in the form of the trans case. That's the problem.
And that is a concern I have, because so many folks who call themselves liberal will say, okay, that's just a transition. No, it's not. That's about personhood.
Yes, it is.
That's about personhood. And the equality of personhood does not depend on what state one is in. One's personhood is not a function of geography.
The trans case may undermine the American with Disability Act. They may say that there shouldn't be a federal standard for disabilities, and that each state should be able to decide what constitutes a human rights standard for people who don't have legs, arms, or mental or physical disabilities. It should be done on a state-by-state basis, with the argument coming from the trans case.
Here's the problem I have.
Go ahead, Judge.
Yeah, here's the problem I have. If they can do that in this instance, what amendment will they not do it in? Will they then jump to the 15th Amendment, which deals with voting? We already see what they did with Calais. Will they jump with the 19th Amendment, which deals with the rights of women? What amendment will they not violate? Will they write out of the Constitution if they'll write the 14th Amendment out, and basically they write it out based upon the notion of an unfavored group, because trans people are, in minds of some people, unfavored. Their personhood must be denied. That's wrong. That's fundamentally wrong.
I think they went to the heart today, Judge, of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 with the trans decision. That's my opinion. I'm no jurist. I went to law school, but I did not take the bar. But I study the Constitution. And while we're sitting around talking about we don't want somebody who's trans playing basketball against our daughters, that's not the holding of the case. The case is that personhood is now determined not by a national standard, but on a state-by-state basis. And there you can shop between states that you want to live in based upon how a state might treat you, not just because you're trans, but because you're different. And that, my friends, that on this day weakened American democracy. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward with Judge Wendell Griffin.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. The Supreme Court is striking down President Trump's effort to end birthright citizenship. The court ruled his executive order targeting the 14th Amendment citizenship guarantee was unlawful.
I'm very disappointed in that outcome.
Democrats praised the decision while House Speaker Mike Johnson reacted during a House GOP press conference. Washington, D.C.'s Black Mayor Muriel Bowser and local agencies are outlining security plans for the 4th of July holiday. At least 9 checkpoints will screen crowds for Saturday's fireworks show, with road closures and fencing also planned. Bowser is also urging people to stay safe in the heat. And Governor Gavin Newsom has proclaimed June as LGBTQ Pride Month in California. He highlighted the state's history of advancing LGBTQ rights while criticizing federal policies and noting ongoing challenges, including anti-LGBTQ hate crimes and violence against transgender people, especially Black transgender women. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
It's the Big O Tires Flash Sale. Buy 3 select tires, get 1 free with paid installation, or get 50% off a full synthetic oil change and 20% off any repair service. The Big O Tires Flash Sale through July 5th at your local Big O.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The LeBron James era with the Lakers is over. LeBron informed the Lakers this morning that he intends to continue his NBA career, but not with them. Lakers management was hoping the 41-year-old LeBron, who becomes an unrestricted free agent tomorrow, would return for a 9th season with the Lakers. Starting tomorrow, LeBron can sign with any team. LeBron's decision is not a complete surprise. There were reports circulating Monday that the Golden State Warriors are planning to make a contract offer to LeBron. The door is now open for Golden State to do that. A decision Monday by Golden State forward Draymond Green may have been the first step in this process. Green declined a player option worth $27.6 million, a move that indicates he's willing to take less money to make salary cap room for LeBron. Much more to come on this significant development. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Where the overlooked become unmissable. This is KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Are you drowning in IRS tax debt? Angela was. She called Civic Tax Relief and saved over $80,000. Felicia was having health problems, got behind on her taxes, interest and penalties were adding up. She called Civic Tax Relief and saved over $15,000. Civic Tax Relief is a professional tax negotiation firm that can protect you from the IRS. If you're getting collection letters, call Civic Tax Relief for a free consultation. They will go to work helping you discover all the relief programs you may qualify for free. James owed the IRS $37,000. Civic Tax Relief represented him against the IRS, and by the time everything was completed, he did not owe the IRS anything. If you are in trouble with the IRS, call Civic Tax Relief for your free consultation now. 800-200-2257. 800-200-2257. Get a free consultation and real tax relief. Call 800-200-2257. 800-200-2257.
Let's do this.
We're heading into one of the most important election seasons in a generation. And with so much on the line, your healthcare, your economy, your neighborhood, you deserve more than sound bites. You deserve the full story. KBLA Talk 1580 is your trusted voice for political coverage, commentary, and conversation. From local races to national headlines, we bring you the insight and perspective you need to make sense of it all and make your voice heard. Between now and November, a lot will happen. A lot will change. But one thing won't. KBLA Talk 1580 will be right here, keeping you informed, keeping you engaged, and keeping it real. KBLA Talk 1580, the place for politics.
Don't be anxious or confused about AI. Take control of your career when you get the skills to tackle real business problems and design specialized solutions. HR Dive reported that entry-level talent with applied AI credentials can receive up to a 25% salary boost. But where do you find training that you can trust? Future-proof your career and deliver more value with Humans Lead the Way AI. Their hybrid learning courses use practical definitions, real-world examples, and strategic insights to help you and your team understand AI with confidence. No magic, no hacks, no shortcuts. Just practical knowledge that helps you use AI more successfully. Don't wait. AI can never replace people who know how to use it well. Register for courses today at humansleadtheway.com. That's humansleadtheway.com.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580.
Our very special guest in this hour is none other than Judge Wendell Griffin, an Arkansas ordained Baptist minister and public speaker. When the Calais decision was decided, he issued the following statement. He said, "The six-justice Calais majority are ideologically opposed to remembering the sorry truth about the long persistent history of racial injustice surrounding voting in Louisiana and elsewhere. They do not suffer from dementia, but social, political, and judicial dishonesty, not willful ignorance, not absent-mindedness, deceitfulness. The Calais decision is the latest proof that the Supreme Court of the United States has willfully, maliciously, and irreversibly descended into a moral, political, and judicial sewer. It is now up to the voters to show that we will not join their descent into that hole, but will cover it with them in it." Judge, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show and Tenacious Tuesday. We're filling in for Barbara Arnwine. I'm so glad you're breaking down these Supreme Court decisions with us today.
Good to be with you again. I'm sorry that we've got some sorry decisions to talk about, but you know, it is what it is.
It certainly is what it is. Hey, Judge, 350,000 Haitians woke up 2 days ago, having heard some pretty awful news about having the temporary protective status withdrawn from their appeal, if you will, their appealing process to become more permanent citizens of the United States. Judge, share with us your thoughts on the targeting of Haitians, Syrians, while at the same time, let's be candid, let's be honest, we're welcoming South Africans under all kinds of protective statuses as long as they're white.
Yeah, we're welcoming white people. We're welcoming white South Africans. We're welcoming white people on temporary protective status. But people of color on temporary protective status, we are not welcoming, even if they've been suffering from earthquakes and famine and all kinds of wars. Even if they've been suffering from violence that the own State Department says U.S. citizens do not visit Haiti because it's dangerous. However, people who have been legally protected by being here because they escaped Haiti are now told that they do not deserve to be protected. And that just must be called what it is. This is simply racism in plain sight. It is racism and xenophobia in plain sight. And we need only read the dissenting opinion by Justice Kagan, who basically called out all the racist things that Donald Trump has said about Haitians, to show that this decision was about race and race specifically. We need to call this what it is. The Supreme Court never showed itself to be more racist than in the decision to revoke temporary protective status for Haitians.
Judge, you write in our chat, if the 14th Amendment can be judicially voided, can the 10th, 1st, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 13th Amendment be judicially voided? Judge, explain to our listeners what you're trying to tell us.
I think, and I'm going to call out Reverend Jeremiah Wright wrote the foreword to the book that Alan Buzak and I wrote in 2002, Parables, and Prophetic Hope. And he said, listen, we need to worry about what's going to happen if the Supreme Court can reverse Roe. Remember, Roe was reversed.
By
if
Dobbs?
they can, by the Dobbs decision. If the Supreme Court can say that, oh, personhood doesn't count, depending on what state you are today, if the Supreme Court can say that Haitians and Jamaicans are basically, well, let's just call it what it is. The Haitians beat the French. The Haitians beat the greatest European power of its time.
Napoleon Bonaparte.
Napoleon Bonaparte. The Spanish couldn't beat the French. The English couldn't beat the French. The Germans couldn't beat Napoleon. But the Haitians, Haitian Africans people beat the greatest military power of its time. And there are people to this day who still resent that. And so they are, listen, they just don't want to give Haiti the proper respect, because we welcome Norwegians. We welcome people from Finland. We welcome people from Denmark. We welcome Germans after World War II. You know, the problem is that we cannot tell the truth to ourselves. And I think it's important for us to say this as this nation approaches this 250th anniversary.
I think we absolutely have to say it, Judge. Let me hit you with a little Martin Niemöller. First, they came for the Jews.
Yes.
But I did nothing because I'm not a Jew. Then they came for the socialists, the democratic socialists. But I did nothing because I'm not a democratic socialist. Then they came for the Catholics, but I did nothing because I'm not Catholic. Finally, they came for me, but then there was no one left to help me. I'm telling you that the civil rights community, because of their feelings about transgendered people, they're going to sleep the transgendered decision, which is the equivalent of Dred Scott.
It is.
Am I wrong? No such thing as a narrow Supreme Court decision.
No. Especially it's no such thing as a narrow Supreme Court decision that depersonalizes anyone. Because if one can be depersonalized for one thing, we can find something else to depersonalize other people based upon our sense of favor or disfavor. Prejudice or bigotry allows us to play whatever card we want to, admit whomever we want to, exclude whomever we want to, and we do it with a straight face, even though it is blatantly wrong. It is blatantly unconstitutional. It's blatantly discriminatory. Our concern now, I think, ought to be, to tell you the truth, Brother Jackson, our concern ought to be, when will we begin to say that we cannot engage in silos about justice?
I think that's right. I think we're probably the only show in the country that's actually looking at a more expansive interpretation in this moment of that decision, the one that some of us feel some kind of way about because of transgender identity. But again, it's not the facts of the case, it's the holding of the court that matters. It's not that Dred Scott was on a train and he got treated a certain kind of way. It's a case about transportation, but the principle of Dred Scott, what did Dred say? The Supreme Court took away my freedom, took away my rights. The Supreme Court took away my freedom, took away my rights. What did Tawney say in Dred Scott? That the black man had no rights that a white man was bound to respect.
Right.
What did the Supreme Court say in the trans decision today? The federal government will have no interest in what the states do to trans people. Well, if that's the holding of the case, and it is, then when it comes to, let's say, the Civil Rights Act of 1964, I know we fought for it. I know we bled for it. I know we died for it. But let me tell you who one of the beneficiaries were, Judge. There was a law, I think it was in Mississippi, might have been in Alabama, that if you were a short white man, you could not be an Alabama or a Mississippi state trooper. You had to be over 6'2".
Right.
Something like that. Very imposing figure with a big old gallon hat, talking a bunch of garbage when he pulled you over for a traffic ticket. As a result of our bleeding for the Civil Rights Act of 1964, short white guys, 5'2", 5'4", 5'6" and 8" can now be state troopers in the state of Alabama and Mississippi. Because what affects one affects all. And that's your point, Judge, about being in a silo. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. When we come forward, more with Judge Wendell Griffin right here on KBLA Talk 1580.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Michael's Daughter Foundation is dedicated to inspiring youth and resilience through storytelling, arts, filmmaking, and enrichment programs for youth and families in under-resourced communities and system-impacted individuals. The Michael's Daughter Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit providing free and low-cost arts programs to youth and families from under-resourced communities, both system-impacted youth and those affected by the incarceration of a loved one. 1 in 43 children in America have a parent incarcerated. 70% of those children are expected to end up in prison. Through filmmaking, animation, theater, and writing, they help young people express themselves, build confidence, and imagine new possibilities. Beyond the arts, they offer financial literacy workshops, emergency support, and scholarships. Because thriving takes more than talent, it takes access. To learn more about the impact of Michael Daughters Foundation and how you can be a part of the movement, please visit their website, michaelsdaughterfoundation.com. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Gas prices got you down. LADWP customers get a rebate of up to $4,000 when you buy a used electric or plug-in hybrid vehicle. Installing an EV charger at your home? Get a rebate for that too, up to $1,500. Visit ladwp.com/EV today and start saving. That's ladwp.com/EV. Going to a World Cup match in LA this summer? Ditch the parking stress and ride Metro. With direct service from across LA County, it's the easy way to get there for just $1.75 each way.
Indeed presents hires you can't afford to get wrong, like public works supervisor.
Hey, this waterman is under a ton of pressure. Did you ever fix it?
Yeah, 3 layers of duct tape. Wait, should I have added a 4th layer?
This is a job for sponsored jobs. This is what happens when you don't sponsor your job on Indeed. Next time, get matched with quality candidates with Indeed sponsored jobs. Visit Indeed.com/hire now and sponsor your job today.
Small businesses are the heart of America. But you don't have to go it alone. As the nation's largest nonprofit resource of expert business mentoring, SCORE has helped millions of entrepreneurs build their businesses for free. Get the connections, education, and guidance you need with SCORE. We're ready to help. Find a mentor today at score.org.
See website for details. MyFastCash.com is not a lender and does not make credit decisions. Must be 18 years old. Not available in all states.
The mechanic called. The repair's going to be $750.
Oh, we got rent and the car payment. On top of groceries, gas, and other bills. We don't have an extra $750 right now.
We could try MyFastCash.com. When short on expenses, you can go to MyFastCash.com and can get money as soon as the next day.
MyFastCash.com.
Yes, they can connect you to one of the largest lender networks, and you can get a loan even with bad credit. We could be approved for up to $5,000 fast.
$5,000? That must be a long process.
Nope, approval can happen in just a few minutes right from your phone, and funds could hit our account by tomorrow.
If you have a regular source of income and a bank account, you could be approved for up to $5,000, even with bad credit history. And the cash can hit your bank account the next day.
Honey, I'm going to myfastcash.com right now.
Thank goodness.
If you need extra cash, go to myfastcash.com. That's myfastcash.com. myfastcash.com.
Loan availability, approval, and funding times vary. Terms apply.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 joins you in standing for voting rights. The midterm election campaign season is here now. The 2028 presidential election is right around the corner. When We All Vote is a leading national nonpartisan initiative on a mission to change the culture around voting and to increase participation in each and every election by helping to close the race and age gap. Created by Michelle Obama, When We All Vote brings together individuals, institutions, brands, and organizations to register new voters across the country and advance civic education for the entire family and voters of every age to build an informed and engaged electorate for today and generations to come. When We All Vote empowers their supporters and volunteers to take action through voting, advocating for their rights, and holding their elected officials accountable. It's all in for 2026 and 2028. Please visit whenweallvote.org to stand up for your rights, voting rights. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. and welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Listen, before I go back to the judge in our final segment on the show, I did want to comment on Congressman Tom Keene's return, his melancholy, to let him know and his family know that we are praying for and with them, because many of you may or may not know that I have had a lifelong battle with depression, and the melancholy is a struggle, and it is a debilitating struggle. And while the nation and the world stood by patiently to hear his analysis, in this hour, what we can offer are prayers to the family and the well wishes to the congressman for his return to public service. We are not from the same political party, and we probably don't share the same ideology, but the melancholy is real. Some people turn to drugs, some people turn to liquor, some people turn to sex, some people turn to all kinds of vices to make themselves feel better when they are in the melancholy. Mm-hmm. And in my case, I turn to spending. I ain't got nothing to spend, so nothing left to spend on my end. And I own my behavior, the responsibility for my behavior in the melancholy. But it's part of what it means to be human. And we're grateful that the Keene family is welcoming the congressman back home, that the nation, his district is welcoming him back home, and that I only hope and pray that we all understand and recognize that when we are in the melancholy, we need to understand. I shall never forget when I heard Tom Keene this morning said he did not know that he was in the melancholy. He didn't call it melancholy either, but that's what it is. until he went to the hospital and the doctor committed him to the hospital for 4 months, because it's not like a wound with a scab, or it's not a bump that you get to pop. It's not something that you can take a shot for. It's a process. It's a conversation. It's the peeling back of an onion to arrive at the source of the melancholy. And then it's rebuilding relationships that have been impacted by the melancholy. With that said, I wanted to offer my prayers and sincerest well wishes to the congressman and welcome him back to public service. Judge, we only have about 5 minutes before we come forward. And you know I want to leave some room for your word of hope. But I was thinking about the church in this moment. And it seems to me that the church, on the one hand, on this question of the Dred Scott decision, the transgender decision, the church has to choose between what it perceives to be its morality on the question of the behavior of the transgendered and the rights that we are all afforded under the Constitution to have our human rights protected, which is where Black people are. We will fight because of our perceptions of how transgendered people live, their lifestyle, what we don't want to identify with. But in this particular case, church, to distance ourselves from them is to distance ourselves from the very privileges, immunities, and rights that we enjoy in this society as well. In other words, like the Three Musketeers, one for all and all for one. Judge?
One for all and all for one is what it is. The first words of the preamble are not a few of us, but we, the people. Not just the folks that agree with me or live like me, but we, the people. And we are an imperfect union, but the rest of the preamble begins with, in order to form a more perfect union. Union is a combination of individuals toward oneness. And we cannot be a union if we basically fragment ourselves in a situation where we depersonalize some people. And so, you're not part of the union because of your gender identity. You're not part of the union because of your ability. You're not part of the union because of your religion. You're not part of the union because of your nationality. You're not part of the union because, hey, just fill in the blank. We cannot be that. There is no union unless we are all in it.
I gotta say this. We got to fight for short white guys just to get our civil rights. And our civil rights are the same civil rights they need. We have to fight for this community, because the same civil right that they need is the one they'll take from us. We have to fight for them to preserve our own in the union. Judge, please take your time and finish. We have about 2 minutes before we come forward.
We are all in this together. One under one sky. We breathe one air. We have to drink the same water. We will live and die together. When we are cut, we bleed blood. When we are hurt, we cry. When our loved ones die, we grieve. When stuff is funny, we laugh. But we need to understand that our shared humanity is shared. And our best government affirms our shared humanity, celebrates it, protects it, and, let me say it, reveres it. As close as I can say so, our notion of union is as close to a civil religion as this nation gets. And when we violate that, we sin against ourselves. We commit an indisputable sin against ourselves, because each of us at any given time can be pushed out, can be alienated, can be dispossessed, can be thrown off the rock. We can be, we can be put off the boat and said, no, not you. And in this society, under God, we say our morality and our legality come together when we talk about union.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Judge, we love you, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Thank you, brother. I love you back, and you can't do anything about it either. Gina, I love you back. You can't do anything about it either.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward with D.L. Hughley. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Until tomorrow.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.